Let's
Yes.
chat about your hair really quick, Michael,
Okay,
because
yes, please.
as I was doing my stalking,
Yes.
you didn't used to have luscious
not.
curls like that.
I
So
did
what's
not
the
used to have
story?
luscious curls. Well, I went to the Luscious Curls store
Okay,
and
I need to go to the luscious
I
curls
bought
store.
some.
Are you rich?
Are you famous?
What have you been on?
I don't really recognize you, and neither does my mom.
Can you laugh?
Can you cry on command?
I mean, you said you were an actor, man.
What's your backup plan? Is it shattered?
Dude, I'm just acting like an actor.
Nah, this was a great life lesson for me.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the color. I went gray, white, whatever this is, salt and pepper. I don't
It's
know.
like platinum blonde. People pay a lot of money for that.
Okay, good. I'm happy for them. Because this is natural. The color is natural.
Oh, it is. Okay.
And I went this color like in my 20s, like in my early 20s.
Oh, okay.
So I spent a million years dyeing my hair back to my previous
Okay.
original color, which was sort of dark. It was very dark brown. I'm
You're
Italian.
Italian, right? Okay.
I'm
yeah.
Italian.
Which
From-
is so
from the Bronx.
interesting.
It
'cause
is?
You're like, I don't know. I just like looking at you with like your light eyes and like now you're light hair, but
Well, because my father is from northern Italy and my mother's from southern Italy. So there's like northern Italians generally have fair skin and there are a lot of blondes
okay.
and they have blue and green eyes. And my
interesting.
mother, had very dark hair and and dark eyes and that whole thing. So I got a mixture of both. So when my hair, and I was an actor like my whole life since I was a kid.
you are an actor.
I am an
what
actor.
You were.
I have always been
Mm-hmm.
an actor, right? And so when my hair went this color, for a million years I was dyeing it because everybody said, "Oh, you have to. You can't walk around with light hair. You will never get a job.
Oh.
You will never get cast. We won't be able to submit you." And the moral of the story is that now I work constantly, nonstop.
Yeah.
Because of it, people. I literally just booked a job on New Year's Eve. It was fascinating, and when they called me up to tell me that I booked the job, they said, "Oh my God, we absolutely love your hair." And I don't care how I get a job, but if it's because of my hair, great. I am an open book.
Yes, I knew that from the minute we started talking. That's one of the first things he said. I was like, oh, I need to get him on the podcast because you were very just like open about your journey. and
Did I say
everything.
something horrible and disgusting though?
No.
Okay, all right, I didn't say something like
No.
offensive.
Uh-uh.
Okay, I'm often accused of saying offensive things because I have no filter.
Okay.
But that's good.
No, yeah, that's just being blunt. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Um,
Again, I'm from the Bronx, so
Yeah.
you just have to like be who you are.
Yeah.
If you're from the Bronx, especially.
So let's dive into that, Michael.
Okay,
Can you kind
yeah.
of tell us your story of how you got to where we are today in terms of your acting journey and everything?
How I got here. I drove here today.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I flew here, so.
Okay, yeah, I can tell you. Because interestingly, I don't know how I got here. Meaning, I can tell you from the very first memory I have, really, about myself was that I wanted to be an actor. Like from the from the time I was, literally, so I guess my point is that it's somehow in my DNA. Well, nobody in my family is an actor. I don't come from a line of actors or performers or anything like that.
Yeah.
But some, if we believe in reincarnation, maybe I was something in another life. But I literally was born with this desire. I don't ever remember feeling any other way from the very beginning. And I had a very supportive mother who sent me to who paid for me to go to dance class and take voice lessons because I started in musical theater, and guitar lessons and piano lessons and acting lessons and all this junk. So I mean, this poor woman she was a single mother, and she spent just probably tons and tons, like thousands of dollars, like sending me to all this stuff. But she never seemed to have a problem with it. She always did it because I always wanted to do it. Again, from the very beginning. So then I don't remember how I pieced this together as either, but I know, like back in New York City, they had a magazine. A magazine is, for you kids out there, it's paper, and it looks like a book, but it comes out once a month. We have magazines right here.
We do.
it's a magazine like this, and it's called Backstage. Now Backstage only exists online, but back in the day, in New York City at least, there was a newspaper. It came out once a week on Thursdays. It was called Backstage, and you would look through it for auditions. And so somehow, I don't know how that information got into my head, but it did. And so I started, my mother, again, paid for headshots.
Wow.
And, you put a lot of fake bullshit on your resume.
Yeah.
You create a fake resume, about all the amazing things that I did when I was like 8. I don't know. And you start, back in the day, you had a headshot and a resume, and you had a big manila envelope, and you had to put cardboard in it so that they wouldn't bend it. So, and then you'd put stamps on it, actual stamps, put it in the mailbox, crazy. So you used to do all that stuff. And so you would submit yourself for auditions, and I was doing that as a kid. And somehow I got a job. My first real professional job, I was very young, and I was it was as a singer. I'd started getting work like in theater, doing like, little productions here and there around New York City and stuff like that. But the first real job that I paid money and it was a real thing, I was a very young kid, and it was as a singer. And that's where I met this girl who's still to this day, 500 years later, still my best friend in the whole world. So we met when we were kids.
Oh, cool.
She's an actress. Her name is Trini Alvarado. And then so we were both like child actors.
Yeah.
And her career took off, like boom. And then many of you out there, if you look up Trini Alvarado, you will know who she is. You have seen her movies. Did you watch The Staircase on HBO? You did?
Yeah.
You saw The Staircase, that amazing miniseries?
Yeah.
So Trini, my friend Trini, was the lead guy was played by Colin Firth. Colin Firth, is that his name? The murderer?
Oh, okay. I don't know his name in real life.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Right. So Trini played his ex-wife, the kooky ex-wife.
Okay.
So she's this.
Yeah, she's good.
She's great. Yeah. She was
a role.
She was a total weirdo in that thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she and I worked together as kids, and we were best friends. And then she got a movie role, and then she was able to get me into this movie as well. And that's how I got into the Screen Actors Guild again 9 million years ago.
Okay, so you were a child when you entered SAG.
I was a child.
Okay.
This is how long ago it was. I will tell you because I remember this. This I remember my mother complaining about because it was $200, the initiation fee
For SAG?
for SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, which now is like I think it's $4 million, right? Something like that.
3,000.
3,000, right? Yeah, 3,000. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, but that's how young I was. It was $200, and I remember my mother screaming because, and also, then I got into AFTRA, which was a separate union at the time.
Right.
The American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. So there was an initiation fee for that one as well. And then of course there's also Actors Equity, which was the stage union. So I was a member of all three of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What was the difference between AFTRA and SAG then? Was AFTRA just voiceover stuff, or?
AFTRA was television and radio.
Oh.
SAG was just movies.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And because then at one point I got onto a soap opera. Back in the day, we had soap operas on television. I believe some soap operas still exist.
They do. General Hospital is one
General
that
Hospital.
a lot of us actors, especially during the strike, because soaps were the only thing happening. I think I auditioned 10 times for General Hospital.
Got it. And I also think The Bold and the Beautiful
yes.
Is still on.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on a soap opera on NBC, again, 900 years ago, when televisions were this big and they were black and white, I don't know, called Another World. And so so then I had to join AFTRA, which was the TV union back in the day.
Okay.
So to answer your question, how I got here was, I don't know.
Right.
I literally just opened my eyes one day as a toddler and said, that's what I want to do. And I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, and everything kind of aligned for you.
Yeah, everything just sort of came together. I feel like I've been very lucky.
You guys should check out your IMDb, by the way, to see all the stuff you've done, because it's crazy. It does go back to the 80s, and you can just see consistent, especially in television.
Yeah,
that's where it seems like you've really made waves. But so I'm curious, did you go to college at all for acting, or did you just?
I didn't. I went to in high school. I was since I grew up in New York City, I went to performing arts high school.
Was it LaGuardia?
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Timothée Chalamet.
It was, well, obviously it was way before that. And yes, it used to be called, there were two schools. There was the High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts. Performing Arts was for actors and dancers. Music and Art was for singers, instrumentalists, and actual artists, like fine art.
Okay.
And so I believe right after I graduated high school, both of those schools merged together and became LaGuardia.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
That's a really good school, though. A lot of like
Al
really
Pacino
big.
went
Yeah.
there. I mean, we could go on.
Yeah.
Millions
Okay,
of
cool.
actors came out of both of those schools. Yeah.
So you were working.
So I
in
didn't
New
go to
York.
college. As soon as because I was already working as an actor.
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
didn't
I
need
don't
to. Yeah.
know, college another 4
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
So I just ended up, when I finished high school and I just went out into the world.
How long were you in New York for before coming to LA? How long were you working as an actor there?
I think I came out to Los Angeles when I was in my 20s,
Okay.
for sure. But for many, because New Yorkers will understand this, you don't ever give up your apartment. So for many, I came out here in my 20s, but I kept my New York apartment. So
Did you have a good deal or something, or
it was
what's
rent
the-
controlled.
Okay,
I had a
okay.
rent controlled apartment in New York City, which you literally don't give up. You stand in front of your building with a machine gun, and anybody who comes near you to try to take your apartment, you just kill them. I shouldn't say that on a podcast. No.
We'll
Don't
add
do
some
that.
funky editing there.
So anyway, so I kept the apartment.
Okay.
So I was, even though I was living in Los Angeles, I was constantly going back because I couldn't sublet it because it was rent controlled.
Oh, gee. That's so annoying.
I was stupid. So I was constantly going back and forth from LA to New York,
Okay.
so that I could make an appearance in New York. I'm like, oh, I live here.
Were you coming to LA for jobs or just for fun, or both?
No, to
Oh, okay.
to
So you'd
look
book
work.
and just fly.
Yeah,
in.
well, I mean, I came out here to live for a couple of reasons. One, because there was just more work out here, television work
there is.
specifically, and also because I, even though I grew up in New York City, I truly hate winter. We talked about this.
Yeah.
I truly hate winter. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like today, it's January 2nd, and it's in the 60s, and I'm freezing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not joking. Like, if it goes below 82 degrees, I'm cold.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm done with this. I'm going to Los Angeles, and I really wish the film and TV industry were in, something like, I don't know, Brazil. Because I would have moved to Brazil,
Yeah.
and I would have learned Portuguese, and I would have been warm all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's So for all those years, I was going back and forth from New York to LA, New York to LA, and then finally, I think it was 2016. I finally was like, you know what? I'm an idiot. Why am I doing this? Why? What?
Because you're paying all that rent.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
And so finally, I was like, you know what? I'm living in LA. I live in LA. I'm a Los Angelino now. It's been like 20 whatever years. I'm gonna stay in Los Angeles. So I finally got rid of that apartment. And I miss New York, but I'm happy here. I like LA.
Yeah, and the weather. Yeah.
Do you like LA?
I love LA. Yeah, there are I wouldn't be here if the film industry wasn't here. I'll say that. Not
if
LA.
it was not here. Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in LA.
Of course. No,
I would be somewhere warm for sure, but not LA. I don't love. It's too crowded here. You know how it is. It takes forever to get places. I like the people here, and I like that the industry's here, but that's about it.
Got it.
It icks me out.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so what is since you've been acting for so long and acting is very inconsistent, how have you been able to stay afloat in the midst of that? Did you ever have to get a normal day job, or what has kind of the realities of it been like for you?
I have to admit, I have been very lucky.
Okay.
So generally, I have been able to make a living as an actor. For the last 10 or maybe even 20 years now, I've made my living solely as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I think I definitely had some crazy jobs. I worked for a phone sex company for a while. We can talk about that, right?
Yeah.
This was back in the day before before all the apps and stuff like that, where if you wanted phone sex, you had to actually pick up a phone. I don't know if you know what those are. You can show, put in a picture.
Connor, if you could insert an image.
Insert a picture of a phone and dialing like that. So and people thought that they were calling other real
Right.
people as well.
Okay.
But really, it was just a bunch of actors sitting in an office space,
Oh my gosh.
and we'd be like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Oh my gosh.
oh babe, yeah," for like
That's
8 hours a
so
day.
funny.
Yeah.
So you would go to like a corporate office.
I went to it was an office building.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
so funny.
and in fact, I remember I worked for a few of those. Because they were very popular at the time.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
these companies were making so much money because we were spending, some people it's $3-4 a minute on the phone.
Oh, okay.
And my job was to keep people on the line,
$3 or $4 a minute.
something like that.
Dang,
They were
that adds
absolutely
up. Yeah,
they were
especially back then.
They were absolutely crazy, insane prices, and so I'm guessing most people would just want to like get on there and, pardon the expression,
Yeah.
and just get off like real quick, right?
Yeah.
But my job was to keep them on, like to
Gosh, okay.
edge them for a while, and like
Yes.
just keep it going. So as you're like backing up the timer.
That's so funny.
So yeah, so I did that. So that was a job that I had for a
Okay.
while, couple. And then I also worked for a matchmaking company once,
Okay.
where I'd sit there and I would go through, again, look this up, Connor, but look up a Rolodex and see what a Rolodex looks like. And you'd go through the cards and you'd say, oh, I can match this person with this person. I did that for a while. But to answer your question,
Yeah.
in general, I have been
Okay.
really lucky. I've been able to sort of, some years are terrible
Yes.
and some years have been great. And when you
Right.
have great years, you save your money so that when everything is terrible, you can live and eat food, which I like to do.
Yeah.
But pretty consistently, I've been able to like work as an actor.
Yeah, that's amazing. Fun day job ideas, guys. If you need an actor day job, phone sex company or matchmaking.
I don't know if phone sex even is a thing anymore. It must be.
Probably not. I don't know, but probably like AI and stuff these days. I don't know. They might. I do social media management, and I had a company reach out to me like 2 weeks ago for AI porn. They
Wow.
wanted me to run their like social media for their AI porn account, and I was like, what in the world? Anyway.
This is one of
the
those
world.
things in the SAG contract now. We can talk about this or not. I don't know. But in the SAG contract now, so let's say, Sophie, you have it in your contract that you don't want to do nudity, right? You're not going to do nudity. You're going to take this part, but you're not going to do any of the nudity. They're going to be like, okay, we're just going to make Sophie nude with AI. So Sophie's going to be running around naked on camera on the film.
Oh, that's something they can do.
Yeah,
in the
they
SAG
can do that
contract?
now. Yeah, hi. Yeah, I know. It's terrible. And Sophie can't say anything about it.
Do they have to pay you at least?
No, that's the
Oh,
point
okay.
of AI. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, you're getting
that's
paid to do the role.
wild.
But yeah,
Okay. Is that something we can talk about? Do you mind chatting a little bit about some changes you've seen in SAG over the years?
I don't mind talking about that at all.
Okay.
Again, because I've been in the union for so long, and all
Yeah,
the
you
unions
really
for so
have.
long, and I grew up in a super liberal, progressive, Democrat family, all people very politically active and stuff. So we super pro union,
Yeah.
pro union. And if you worked and you did non-union work, you were a scab and all this stuff, and it was ugly. But I have seen the SAG especially, but all of them, equity as well, just sort of whittle away at all this stuff over the last 20-30 years, to the point where now it's I think we were also talking about this the other day. I'm not sure if I would tell anybody to join the union if they were eligible, if they could do it. I don't know if it's beneficial anymore, because they've taken so much away. And at this point, especially after this last contract, I feel like SAG especially has no bargaining power anymore. I think it's done. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few years. This contract is up in another 2.5 years.
Yeah.
But at this point, I can't imagine the studios being willing to come sit down at the table with us at all, because we have no power anymore.
Yeah.
This is just my personal opinion.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting, and thank you for being
of
so
course.
open about that. Have you heard anything? I was on set with a makeup artist the other day who's in IATSE. She's in the makeup union.
Yeah.
She was telling me they're talking about potentially striking.
Yeah.
Like summer IATSE, so
Yeah.
it could be another.
Yeah.
thing, which is crazy. And what she was saying is so true, that like I guess because they're giving the actors more money, they were trying to like take away from other departments in a sense. So they're trying not to give the makeup departments and stuff like that. It's like these studios.
I mean,
crazy.
you're gonna have like, you know, full-fledged like real serious projects, you know, television shows where they're gonna be like, oh, you know, come to set makeup and hair ready. What?
That does happen sometimes, even like with like non-union commercials.
Well, yeah,
especially.
that. Right, because it's non-union, and again, they have no bargaining power.
True,
but now that SAG, in my opinion, has no bargaining power, they're going to do anything they can to keep as much money as they can. Of course. Yeah. Oh, bring your own lunch.
I know. Craziness.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, sure, I'm going to do that. Yeah.
It will be interesting to see.
But I mean, part of me thinks I hope IATSE does go on strike. I think it's important.
Yeah, to get what they
You know,
need.
it's a bummer to be out of work. I understand. I understand why people wanted to go back to work. I wanted to go back to work. But you know, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important to do it now to get those changes before we keep putting up with the BS. You know what I mean? Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you have to strike to get what you want.
I absolutely agree. And that's why I voted no on this contract. Because you know what, if we have to strike for another 2-3 months, okay, we'll do it. You know, in order to get what we should have gotten, which we did not get.
What's the biggest thing you wanted to see in the contract that was not there?
You know, people were really upset about the AI stuff, and I absolutely was upset about the AI stuff. I'm more upset about the residual stuff. To the best of my understanding, the residuals now work something like this with streaming services. You do a show, let's say it's on Netflix. Within the first 2 months of that show being on the platform, in order for you to get residuals, the show has to have a 90% viewership, which means that 90% of the people who subscribe to Netflix have to watch that show within the first 2 months in order for you to get residuals, which seems absolutely insane to me.
It's like nearly impossible.
It's nearly impossible anyway, right? But then what they can also do is this, and if I'm completely wrong about this, guys, please let me know. But what they can do, let's say Netflix decides, okay, that's the deal, okay, but we really don't want to pay. We really don't want to pay these actors all this money. So let's put the show up on September 1st, but let's not really publicize it a lot until, I don't know, October 15th. And that gives you 2 weeks, you know, and you really publicize it, you know, push it, you know, put it on the, you know, your banner headline on when you go to Netflix, you know, for 2 weeks. And then you get to November 1st and like, oh guys, you know, damn it, you didn't get the 90%. Sorry, no residuals. It's absurd.
Yeah.
That was really upsetting to me.
Yeah.
You know, and they put this money into an account, which SAG is going to use for what? So that they can, you know, decorate their new office building. I don't know. I'm angry and resentful.
Yeah, understandably. Okay, I want to pivot a little bit, Michael. So you created your own show.
Correct.
Remind me the title.
It's called Child of the 70s.
Okay, Child of the 70s.
Right.
Can you talk to us about how all of that came to fruition?
Sure. It was one of those periods of time, one of those years where I wasn't working a whole lot, so I had a lot of free time, and I had this idea in my head for a sitcom, and so I just started to write it. I asked a friend to join me. We sort of sat around and wrote it together, and so really it was just like we wrote this thing. We wrote the first season of a sitcom, this idea that I had in my head for a sitcom. And I loved it so much that after it was written, then I couldn't just like let it sit in a drawer somewhere. I felt like I had to do something with this. And this was right around the time when web series were sort of becoming a thing.
Yeah, it's 2012, right?
I want to say I might have even, was it 2012? It might have even, I've started probably a couple years before that, because obviously it took a while. Right. Yeah. So then I decided to do I think I did not Kickstarter, what's the other one?
Is it the film version?
Not a GoFundMe, I can't remember what.
Crowdfunding?
I did some I did a crowdfunding thing, whatever it was. It wasn't Kickstarter, it was the other one. So, and somehow, miraculously, I was able to reach my goal, the goal that we had to do this one season. And so then I cast it with all of my friends.
Yeah.
But I also did this thing which I thought was super fun. It's called Child of the 70s, and it is it's kind of written like a 1970s sitcom, and I stole a lot from a lot of my favorite 1970s sitcoms, and what I decided to do, which turned out to be an amazing thing, was I went out and I got a bunch of actors who were in popular 1970s sitcoms. Nobody will know who these people are now, but I got people from like Laverne and Shirley, and from The Love Boat, and Ted Landris from The Love Boat, and I got this woman Donna Pescow who was in the movie Saturday Night Fever, and she was on a TV series called Angie. I got all of these people from 70s sitcoms to come do this show, and it was surprisingly easy. Everybody always asks, like, well, how did you get?
I was gonna ask that.
How did you get all these people? Ted Lange, for instance, he played Isaac the bartender on The Love Boat for a million years. Very popular show. Was on television for like 12 years or something like that.
Wow.
Very popular actor. How do you get all these people? And I literally just called them. I just went onto IMDb Pro and I got numbers for people, and I just called and said, hey, I'm doing this show. It's very little money, but I think you're awesome and I love you so much, and I've written this part. I think it's great. And almost everybody said yes.
Wow.
It's just because, people want to work.
Yeah.
People want to have fun, and so we did a first season. And then I was like, well, I guess we have to do more. So then we did a second season, and then we did a third season. And every season got bigger and bigger and bigger and more ambitious. Like by the third season, we had full on like major cameras and sound and lighting, and like we had like 40 actors.
Looks great, yeah.
It got better and better every season, and it got more ambitious. The storylines got bigger. We got Susan Olsen, who played Cindy Brady on the Brady Bunch.
Oh my gosh.
She did a bunch of seasons.
Yeah.
Comedians, Judy Tenuta was on it, Bruce Valanche was on it. Like, we got all these amazing people, and so we ended up doing 5 seasons of that.
Yeah.
And then at some point in there, I can't remember exactly when it was, but we ended up selling it to Amazon.
Okay.
So that's where
it's on Prime now.
It's on
right?
Prime now.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
Amazon Prime. It's called Child of the 70s. We did 5 seasons of it, and the episodes range from, some of them are like 8 minutes long, some of them are 28 minutes long. We just did whatever we sort of felt like doing.
Yeah.
Again, we had amazing people, and I'm super proud of it. And again, it was one of those things where I didn't know anything. Like, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like, no idea what I was doing at all. But my whole thing has always been like, well, if you don't know how to do it, just figure it out.
That's like kind of our business in general, because there are no rules for anything creative, and people
especially
like to
now
pretend there is. But yeah, there's really not. And if you try to think through, like, I'm like, okay, so how am I going to make a show? How am I going to get funding for it? How am I going to, like, if you just sit there and think about all the details, you kind of just have to start and like figure out as you go.
And you know what? And you do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's done. Okay, so now what do I have to do? Oh, now I have to raise money. So I raised money.
Mm-hmm.
That's done. Oh, so now I have to find a crew. Okay, how do you do that? You ask around, you get a crew.
Yeah.
And then, you find a location. Oh, okay, I gotta do that. And then, you know what? The doing of it then makes it easier to do.
Yeah.
Right? The more you do something, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
And so by season 5, we had a huge crew, and we were having catering, and it was like a whole big thing.
Okay.
And we had like these great editors and stuff. It became a huge thing, and it was all just because like I really had some free time. I wanted to do something, and I wanted to have some fun with my friends.
Yeah. It turned into this great thing. Where was it airing before Amazon Prime?
It was on a bunch of different services, but mostly just on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I just originally put it up on YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah.
And can I ask, now that
Yes.
it's on Amazon Prime,
Yes.
do you get like residuals or anything like that? Or how
My
does that work?
my deal with Prime was they just gave me a flat fee. They just
Okay.
bought it outright. They bought because by then I think we must have either we had the whole 5 seasons, or we were maybe in the middle of shooting the 5th season. So I think they just paid me a fee, and they just bought the whole thing. Yeah.
When that happens, did you have to remove it all from YouTube and everything like that? Like, it's officially Amazon's now, or no? Oh, really? Okay.
No, they have these non-exclusive contracts.
Cool.
So yeah, it can be on as many platforms as I want to put it on. Yeah.
And then in terms of funding, so you like raised money for the first season.
Yeah.
Did you end up making money back from the show, or how does that work?
I think
when you're creating your own project.
I think I never made a profit, to be honest with
Okay.
you. I always made enough money through crowdfunding, but I think by the time we did season 3, we had sponsors.
Oh, cool.
Because that was the other thing I thought, like, because crowdfunding is hard.
Yeah, it's
Right?
a lot of work. I've never done it, but I hear from people.
And once you get all your friends and your family to give you money, it's hard for you to get them to do it a second time, and then a third time. It's like people are like, oh my God, stop. Yeah. So I went out, again, something I had no idea what to do. I went out and found sponsors. So for instance, I got on my phone and I looked up vodka companies. I said, hey, and I just wrote DMs to people saying, hey, listen, I have this show. These are the numbers. This is how many people watch. This is the demographic. Would you be interested in sponsoring? So, like, for instance, the first one I got was a vodka company. And they sent us money. They sent us cases of vodka, which was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And, we did like product placement. We placed bottles of vodka in every scene. We had all of our characters all of a sudden become alcoholics or whatever. Like drank all the time. And then I did it with another company. And then I did it with another company. And so, again, you just sort of figure stuff out. Yeah. So the only time there was a profit was when Amazon bought it. But yeah.
Cool, interesting. Thank you for sharing that too.
And I don't know that I went into it thinking that this was going to be a money-making proposition.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure.
I went into it just to do something fun and creative. And
I think it is nice though when you create stuff, if it doesn't cost you something in the end. Like if you at least break even, I feel like that's a pretty successful project. And even if you do lose something. But
yeah, and even because they were my friends, so most of the people were my friends. Yeah. When there were times when I was like, listen, I don't know, I can't. We don't have enough money in the budget, and most people were like, who cares? Forget it. Let's just shoot it.
Yeah, make it work.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your advice for anybody who wants to create their own show or kind of do what you did?
My advice would be to love it.
Okay.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Love whatever it is that you're doing. If you're not in love with what you've written or what you are creating, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's too hard to do if you are not fully, madly, deeply in love with it.
Yeah.
Right? I ended up doing this because I really felt the need to do it. I had to do it. I had to get this out of my body and out of my head and onto a page and then onto a screen. And I loved it as hard as it was, and it was hard and it was frustrating throughout much of it. But I loved every second of it. So that's to me the most important thing. And like I just said, also. Don't worry if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Just figure it out as you go.
Figure it out. Ask questions. Mm-hmm. I'm never ashamed to ask questions, or I'm never ashamed to admit that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yes. I'm like that too. That's, again, part of the reason I started this podcast is because, like, as creatives, do any of us know what we're doing? I'm like, we all just learn from pulling little bits from everybody, so none of us know what we're doing. Okay, yeah, I know.
I steal things from people. I'm like, hey, can I steal that? Right. I mean... so I always ask questions.
Yeah.
And I'm always willing to like stand back, and if somebody has a better idea, like I think just in this business anyway, I think you have to be a collaborator.
Yeah.
If you're all bent out of shape when people come in with different ideas, you're gonna have a hard time. Mm-hmm. I'm really good about working with other people, collaborating with taking ideas, asking, this is my idea. What do you think? Do you think this is shit? Or do you think like this could be funny? Is this interesting to you? Like, what do you think? Oh, really? This works? That doesn't work? Oh, tell me why it doesn't work. I'm really good about that. I enjoy that part.
Yeah.
So that I would also say that I would say be persistent. Mm-hmm. I think, at every step of the way, I was like, oh God, I should just stop this shit. This is crazy. God, why am I gotta, but then I realized, no, keep going. Don't stop. It's going to pay off. And it ultimately did.
Yeah.
And be consistent about who you are. And I always think treating people nice is a really good way to do stuff.
Yeah.
If you treat people nice, if you buy pizza and give people pizza, people will do all kinds of shit for you. It's true.
Just give 'em food.
So, I mean, I guess those are the things I would say to somebody. That's the advice I would give.
Yeah.
Write, again, especially if you're a writer, write what you love and write what you want to see.
Yeah. No, I think that is good advice, because I think sometimes, especially in today's society, there can feel like a pressure that like you need to create something and like make a project. But you're right, don't just make a project to make a project. Make sure you love it, because like you said, it is so difficult.
Yeah, never do that just because, yes, we're all forced right now, especially we're all feeling forced to like, oh my God, I have to be a content creator.
Yeah,
I have to,
for real,
and I'm like, oh, I'm like this on TikTok and Instagram. I'm like, oh God, do I want to do another TikTok? God,
no, I know, yeah.
I know. Because I feel like I have to.
I know, yeah. It's like your personal brand, the user-generated content, the brand deal. So it's like all of it, and
all
like
that stuff. And so now, I would just do it because you have this unwavering need to get it out of your body.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah,
it's so good. Can we talk a little bit about your work on children's projects? Because you've done quite a few different, like, were you on Disney or did I make that up? Did you have a credit from Disney Channel or no? I might have to edit this out.
No.
Okay. But you did do a lot of children's work. Do you mind chatting about that a little bit?
Did I?
The YouTube shows.
Oh, we can absolutely chat about that stuff. Oh yeah, sure. I didn't know what you meant. That was less children, more sort of demonic. That was work for demons.
How did you fall into that world? Because I feel like one of the projects you're most known for, as I was looking you
we
up,
can talk about it. Yes, we can say
there were a lot of fandom stuff
Yes.
and things like that with Michael. So I'm curious, like, how you fell into that world, what that has done for your acting journey, if you recommend doing that sort of YouTube stuff, etc., etc.
Right. So I want to say this was, I'm trying to think of what year it was when I started doing work on a YouTube channel called Darman. That was the first one. And it was I believe when I first started with him, it was a popular YouTube channel, but nothing like what it eventually ended up becoming. We were shooting these videos. You know what? We should think about this for a second, because I don't want him to come after you.
Oh, I can always edit this out, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't even have to, I'll edit out the title. We don't even have to say that.
Okay, we won't say his name.
Yeah. Connor, delete the Darman. It's a YouTube channel.
Just bleep it. Just go bleep.
Yeah, actually, we'll do that.
Because I want to tell the story, but beep his name, because he's come after people. He got my TikTok account taken down at one point. Yeah, he came after me for copyright infringement, which was such bullshit. But anyway, so I started working for him. And it was these little videos for YouTube. They were really short, they were like 5 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that. Usually like some sort of little morality thing, and I was, from the very beginning, from the very first one, I was always the bad guy. I was always the homophobe or the racist or the Islamophobe or I would criticize women for their weight, or I would criticize people, I would call people ugly, or, all the time. I was always that guy.
Yeah.
That was my thing. He would always cast me like that. And so then I think it was during the pandemic where he seemed to really take off. We were shooting videos first in just his apartment. One camera, one guy with a little mic.
Yeah.
And we were just shooting in his apartment.
Yeah.
And then it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and more views and more views. And apparently you can make a shit ton of money on YouTube. Which he did. And so then he ended up buying a studio, a soundstage,
creating a movie
out in Burbank. The movie comes later, and so we did that for a couple more years, and it got huge. and he just became like a multi millionaire.
Yeah.
He bought a Kardashian house or something for like $16 million or some nonsense, and would come to the studio every day in a different, Lamborghini, or what's the most expensive car in the world? What's it called?
I don't know.
Oh, there's some. Write in the
Connor?
comments. What? Yeah, Connor. Connor, look up what the most expensive car in the world. I can't remember. I think it starts with an M. I can't remember.
But one of those.
Yeah, and so he would show up at different cars and then, but then he created more channels. There was a behind the scenes channel, and there was he had a channel with him and his girlfriend and their kids. Like it was a whole this huge thing. And so then, of course, then you get a ton of followers on the TikTok and on the Instagram and all that stuff. Every time I would go to the Grove, I'd be assaulted by 90 13-year-old girls and stuff like that.
Does it still happen?
Yeah.
Sometimes? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So yes, this all ended about a year ago. This is we just turned to 2024. So the beginning of 2023 or the end of 2022, something like that. A bunch of us there finally decided that he had, his income had skyrocketed, and we had sort of never followed suit, meaning like we had never gotten a raise. There were things about it that we were starting to feel like were completely unfair.
Mm-hmm.
And so a group of us got together and said, hey, listen, we would love to have a meeting with you and discuss these things, because we feel like there are things that can easily be fixed, which would make everybody happy, which would not hurt your bottom line in any way. We weren't interested in, gouging him or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're just interested in getting a more fair share.
Yeah.
And especially because a lot of his success was based on the work that we were doing.
Yeah, their faces, like you guys were in so many episodes. I think your IMDb says you were in like 40 something episodes.
Oh, more than that, I'm sure. More than that. A whole bunch of them didn't even end up on IMDb, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, for years I was there, like constantly, and there are people who did even way more than me, like who did like just hundreds and hundreds of them. Like, yeah. And so, I mean, the ending of that story was that he decided to not meet with us. He decided to not listen to any of our, thoughts or suggestions or concerns. Yeah. And they weren't even demands. We were more than willing to go in and negotiate and work through, work things out. So a bunch of us ended up leaving there. And there are other channels like this as well. I do a bunch of things for, there's a channel called Super Mission. There's a channel called Totally Studios, which Sarah works on.
Yeah, I've done Totally Studios
you did?
before too. Yeah,
you have?
Just once or twice.
Got it.
Before they moved to San Diego.
Got it. Well, yeah. See, I've been dragging my ass down to San Diego.
Really?
Yeah, to do those jobs. So anyway, so there are a bunch of other YouTube channels out there like this, and now there's a new one that I work for. It's called Think About It, which just started. Like they just uploaded their first or second one recently. But yes, with the Darman, who we're gonna go beep beep. We did a Christmas movie for him. That was the big movie. That's when all the shit hit the fan. When we did the big Christmas movie. Yeah. And you know what? The truth is, it was unfortunate the way it all sort of ended, because I had a lot of friends there.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, for what it was. It was always a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
If I had free, if I was free and I was available, I was always more than happy to do it. So it was unfortunate that it kind of ended poorly. Yeah. But he's still out there. He's still doing it. Yeah. It's fine,
Yeah. One thing leads to another.
Yeah.
Okay, my last thing for you, again, if you're comfortable talking about this.
Yes.
That event that happened in your life that was very big with your husband.
Got
Can
it.
you talk a little bit about that and how that maybe affected you as an actor, or... Because that's such a big thing, and I feel like, I don't know, just especially as actors, since we're our businesses, I'm sure that affected you all areas of your life. Are you comfortable chatting about that and how you dealt with it?
Yeah, okay. Of course. No, because it was certainly was a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
So there's a backstory which is that I was I had a I had been in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
And we broke up, like very long-term relationship. And then, if you have ever had this experience where you've been in a relationship and you end it, you broke up, whatever. Yeah. Like, what I tend to do is like I tend to just kind of like sit in my misery for a while. I like to wallow in it. I'm like one of those people.
Super healthy.
Yeah.
I do that too.
I like to like listen to like sad music, like if it were today I'd listen to nothing but Billie Eilish, and just like cry and just be miserable. So I was in that space, and I think I had done something really crazy, like I typed in something like sad poems. I was reading sad poems, just being miserable. And so I found a poem, but which was not sad at all. It was actually really beautiful. I fell in love with this poem, but it was on some random site. I don't remember at all, and I didn't know who the author was. Whatever. So but I loved the poem so much that I printed it out. I printed it out on a little piece of paper and I folded it up and I put it in my wallet because I think, I love this poem so much. It's like my favorite poem and I want to keep it with me. So anyway, years later, I was out on a date with this guy and we're sitting there having dinner and he said, you talk about yourself. Yeah. And he said that he wrote poetry and I was like, you do? Oh my God, that's so funny because I carry my favorite poem around with me. And I took out my wallet and I took it out and I unfolded it and I handed this is my favorite poem. Tell me what you think of this. And he looked at it and he goes, is this a joke? And I said, no, why? He said, because I wrote this. So his poem had been in my wallet for like 5 or 6 years. And I mean, at that point, the date was going great anyway, but like at that point we were like basically inseparable. Then again, long story short, we got married. Eventually, we got married, but then unfortunately he got sick and he died. He had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so, as far as like being an actor, how this relates to me as an actor.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Bronx, and as a gay kid in the Bronx or anywhere, maybe, I don't know, you had to put up a front. Yeah. You had to front, like, and it was so you are just taught, or you teach yourself, to be tough. Yeah. Like you fight. Yeah. I was good at, arguments, and I was good at, verbally, like, killing somebody. And, and sometimes you have to get into a fight, like a physical fight, which I did when I was a kid. And so that was my whole sort of demeanor. That was my whole sort of the wall that I had up, which was, and it's lasted well into adulthood, where I was like, yeah, fuck you. That was my whole thing. Okay. That was the way I dealt with the world. Mm-hmm. Until this experience happened. My husband, when he died, I had a moment with him when he was in a coma in the very last few days, and we knew he was going to die, and like 15 minutes or something before, like the cardiologist was looking at his heart and whatever, they were like, it's gonna happen, like now, it's gonna happen. So everybody, all the doctors, the nurses, everybody, they left the room. He was in the ICU, and I'll never forget this. One of the nurses, this amazing nurse, said to me, listen, talk to him, because he can still sort of hear you in there. Like, it's still, like, even though he's in a coma, it's still registering somewhere. Okay. So I literally got into bed with him. I crawled into bed and I held him, and for like 15 minutes, I talked to him. And told him how I was feeling, and told him not to be scared, and it's going to be okay, and I'm going to be okay, and you're going to be okay, and you're going on a great adventure. and then he died as I was holding him. And what that did for me was that it literally, it didn't just break the walls that I had put up my entire life, it exploded them in a way that whereas before in life my go-to emotion was always anger and was always like, let's get into a fight about this. Now I feel like my sadness and grief and all of my emotions, I was a person who pushed this is how I say it, I would push all of my emotions down, and now my emotions are right on the surface. So, which made me a more compassionate person, which made me a more empathetic person. And I realized that everybody has a story. Yeah. Like every time you bump into anybody in the Whole Foods or wherever you are on the street, and if some idiot cuts you off, everybody has a story. None of us knows. I have no idea what's going on in your life today, right? So you have to treat everybody nicely. You have to treat everybody with compassion and empathy. And as an actor, it made accessing my emotions just like it's all there now. So I just feel like as an actor, I if I'm doing a scene, an emotional scene, like it's all just so incredibly easily accessible now. It just changed my whole view of the world.
Yeah.
That was a lot to
answer
your question,
that
but
that absolutely makes sense. Do you have any advice for actors who are maybe going through something really traumatic in their life? Maybe they just had a death of a loved one, or they're grieving, or what is some advice to those people?
Grief is a really interesting thing. After he died, his name was Antonio. After he died, I went into grief therapy, which was very specific, and it was grief group therapy. So specifically what it was there, I think there were 8 of us in the group, and all of our spouses had died like right around the same time, within like a month or 2 of each other.
Did somebody recommend that for you? I'm curious, or did you take the initiative to do it?
No, somebody recommended that to me.
Okay.
Yes. And so we all went through the process together. But what was interesting is that one of the many things that was interesting was that everybody deals with grief differently.
Yeah.
My thing was like, all I wanted to do was talk about it. Like for instance, to give you an example, my friends would try to distract me in the beginning, oh, let's go, oh, come on, I'll come over and I'll take you out and we'll go to dinner and, blah, 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 we'll do this and we'll do that and we don't have to talk about it. And I was like, no, I want to talk about it. That was my way of getting it out. It had to get out of my body. It had to, I wanted to talk about it. Yeah. Other people don't want to talk about it. Yeah. Other people, people laugh about it, people cry about it, people, it runs the gamut. So I guess as far as advice goes, I think I would just tell people to try to be as authentic to yourself as possible. Yeah. Meaning whatever is comfortable for you, do it. Well, comfortable is not the right word, because sometimes you have to be uncomfortable. And I think I guess if I were telling anybody anything, I would say to deal with it. Meaning don't pretend like it didn't happen. Don't brush it under the rug, whatever they say. I think this is about fear as well, grief and fear. Walk through it. Feel it. Yeah. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be uncomfortable. It maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, whatever it is. I would the choice that I've made, and this is, I think, a healthy choice, is to just walk through it and feel it until it's done. And it's really never done, but for me, grief then became sort of, it's sort of just a small part of the fabric of my life, or of who I am as a person. It's a piece. Again, that's very easily accessible now to me. So it just becomes a part of you. And I think the same thing with fear. And in our business, everything is fear-based, right? And so I would just say, like, don't allow it to shut you down.
Yeah.
Walk through it, feel it, deal with it. It's part of who we are as creatives, and I think that's how we should attack anything. Really, is to look it in the eye, face it, and
Deal with it head on.
Deal with it head on, and be authentic about it.
Yeah.
Was that?
No, yeah, no, I love that. I think that, yeah, instead of like shoving it down or maybe pretending it didn't happen,
Which
deal with
never
it head on.
helps, I think.
It doesn't, because it always comes out. It's like that with any emotion. You can try to shove it down, but it'll come out in other areas of your life. So.
And when it comes out in other areas, then it becomes self-destructive.
Yeah.
Which nobody wants that.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Okay, so our last segment, I know this is kind of a funky little move on from that note,
All right.
but it's our last segment we always do is our Fast Frisbee 5. So these are just 5 rapid fire questions.
Okay. All right.
That require a lot of thought. So that's the
They
gist.
do require?
They do, but they're
Okay.
they're rapid fire. So what's your favorite quote, Michael?
That doesn't require any thought at all because I know it.
Okay, good.
I actually have it tattooed on my body.
Okay.
My favorite quote is from Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
That he was an author. He wrote some plays. His name is William Shakespeare. You look him up.
Mm-hmm. None of the actors know who Shakespeare is, Michael.
No. He wrote one of the plays that he wrote. I think there are 33 plays. I think, but one of them is called Hamlet. This is from Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2, and I have it tattooed on my arm, which is, "There is nothing, either good or bad, but thinking makes it so."
I don't know. I've never ever actually heard that.
Which essentially means that anything, you are the one who puts judgment on things. You are the one who decides if this is a positive experience or a negative experience. Even like just what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Just like the death of somebody super close to you. I don't want to use the word positive, but there are things about it ultimately that made me a better person because of that experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a big believer that if you can't like change a situation, you need to change your outlook on the situation.
100%.
And so, yeah, no, I love that. What is something in LA not a lot of people know about that you love?
There's a Thai restaurant called Chuan Chim. And it is this tiny little hole in the wall on, I think it's on Sunset. Chuan, Chuan-Chim, Chuan Chim. It has the best tom kha gai soup in the world. And it's like this tiny little place in the whole, and anytime I've ever been there, it's amazing that it's still there because it's like empty. But it is amazing. And I've been to Asia, and I'm telling you.
Oh.
Good. Chuan Chim, Los Angeles.
Chim.
Thai food.
What is your favorite line in a movie, Michael?
Shit. It's from there's a film director named Woody Allen, and he did a movie called Annie Hall, and I'm gonna screw up this quote, but he tells this joke, and it goes something like this: there are these 2 old women sitting there having dinner, and one woman says to the other woman something like, "Ugh, this food is terrible. It tastes so awful." And the other woman looks at her and goes, "Yeah, and the portions are so small." That to me is like an absolutely hysterical line.
Yeah, oxymoron. That's funny. Pickles, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay.
100%.
People feel strongly about pickles.
Do they? People say no? People say nay to pickles?
Yeah.
I want to meet you, no pickle people. I want to talk to these people. This is not right. I'm from the Bronx. You eat pickles.
You're passionate about pickles.
I'm totally passionate. I'm going to start an Instagram page.
What is a recent obsession of yours, Michael?
Oh, God. Okay. I can't believe I'm going to admit this. But there is this genre of television in Asia.
Okay.
specifically Thailand and Korea.
Okay.
It's a type of television show. It's called BL,
Okay.
which stands for Boy Love.
Okay.
The craziest thing I happened upon, like totally randomly, right? But then I found out that they're like, it's not just, it's a television. I found this one television series, and it's about this guy who's a mafia boss in Thailand, in Bangkok, who falls in love with his bodyguard, right? And it was fascinating. Like I found a little clip of it, and I was like, oh my god, I have to watch this. And so I found the show, and I watched the whole series. And then I found out that there was another series. Oh, and there's another series. There are like hundreds of them, and all about guys who fall in love with other guys.
Interesting.
And and it's not like things that we have here where it's like it's a problem. Like, you know, the guys come home and say, Mom, Dad, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And the mother and father freak out, you
Right.
know, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, it's none of that.
Okay.
It's literally
It's
like,
a love story.
they're just love stories, but they're all guys.
Okay. No, I love that.
And yeah, and I'm telling you, there are so many of them in Korea
I didn't
and
know that.
Thailand. And they have this whole genre. It's called BL, Boy Love Series.
Interesting.
Crazy. And now I'm obsessed. I try to find more and more and more.
Do you just listen to them dubbed or like subtitles or something?
They have subtitles. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I wonder if BL will make its ways in America.
I mean, I'm telling you. And then when you find their pages on like Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, they do have like millions of fans.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So it's an up and coming thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a thing. It's a thing that I had never. I couldn't even imagine. I was like, what? Yeah.
All right. Any last words for our acting like an actor viewers, Michael?
Yeah. Don't. Like I said earlier, don't. This is what I tell everybody. Don't get into this business unless you absolutely have to. Right?
Yeah. Again, that like urge, that love inside of you. For
Unless
it.
you absolutely. If there's anything else that you love and can do, do it. Because this is a hard life. However, I couldn't imagine anything more rewarding. So if you have to do it, do it. And if you have to do it, and don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. That's more important.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever give up. The reason why I feel like I've lasted this long is because I always had this horrible fear that the day I gave up, the day I decide, if I decide like one day, you know what, I've had enough. I have absolutely had enough of this struggle. I'm leaving. I'm going to move somewhere warm and I'm going to live on a beach somewhere. The next day is the day that the big job was going to come in. And I will always live with that in the back of my head.
Yeah, I have something similar. You're right. And it's true, like, if you stick it out, you don't really give yourself another option. You know what I mean? Like, if you stick it out in this business and you're consistent with it, like, sometimes people are like, well, what's your backup plan? Or like, what? I don't have one. This is it for me, man. Like, I'm sticking with it and it's all going to work out because there's no other options. So.
I 100% agree with you. That was one of those things they all said to you, like when we were kids and in high school, performing arts. They're like, have a backup plan, have a plan B. Nope. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Nope. I don't want another skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you've done a good job too of like, you kind of have to keep yourself busy as well. Like as you're waiting for things to happen, you have to start your own shows and do random gigs and just kind of fall in love with that part of the actor life, which I think you've done a really good job of doing. But yeah. All right. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.